In yesterday's board gaming podcast, we were exploring this idea about a shift in board gaming, a shift in the hobby, and in my opinion, an excellent shift, where games are developing, they're becoming living engines. They're developing this idea of campaign play, where you're going in, you're working through characters, through missions, through adventures, different acts, different bosses. I mean, really a very, very immersive experience. And a number of you in the comments were offering some amazing suggestions. There's some great Kickstarters out right now as of this podcast, and I'm sure if you come to this podcast a year from now, there'll be some additionally amazing. Piggybacking that on Massive Darkness. I've been playing a lot of Massive Darkness right now, working my way through that again, bringing it to the gaming club, bringing it to the tabletop, pushing up some content over on my blog, and trying to work my way through and respond to some comments on there. Massive Darkness as a campaign, because it looks like it has a lot of great elements. It has an excellent leveling up system. Reminds me a lot of Diablo. You have your character, you have signature abilities. As you gain experience from killing monsters, you have these different decision trees. So you're playing the same character, but your development goes in a lot of different directions that are out there. And if you play through it again, different decision trees, playing it and pushing it forward from that way. If we put in a campaign, this is perfect with how it runs. And the way they handle that in Massive Darkness is if you play a single mission, you gain experience normally. So you defeat 3 minions, you get 3 XP. You defeat an agent, you get 3 XP. You defeat a boss, you get 5. Everyone gets 5. You track it on a pegboard, and you decide at the end of the phase when and how you want to spend it. Maybe you want to save it up. You can kind of go a lot of different ways. The campaign then takes the adventures and spreads out the XP. There's a little tracker on the right side, micro XP. And as you get normal experience, that tracker fills up, and when it reaches 10, it equals 1 regular experience point. So in a campaign, it uses the micro system. And I have to say, from a campaign experience, Massive Darkness falls massively flat on there. The very thing that the engine does, the engine says, hey, let's throw down a lot of miniatures. Let's take a campaign experience of leveling up quickly. Let's throw down tons and tons of loot drops like Diablo. Let's have a dungeon crawl, discovery, fighting boss monsters, everything, and let's do this in 2 hours or less. As soon as you spread it over a campaign, your characters just become kind of bland. They take their time to level up. And you start to look and say, well, the way, certainly there's a story fighting the Massive Darkness, but the way the game was originally written, the idea was to play it out as a single sit-down. Pick the mission, what do you want to play, dive in, dive out. And I didn't back the Kickstarter. I was fortunate enough to trade away some stuff and get a copy of the Kickstarter pledge. But in looking back with the Kickstarter, apparently there was a big cry for campaign. We want a campaign experience. And that makes sense given that campaigns right now seem to be all the rage. But it was definitely, and it looks it in the rules as an afterthought. So it's there. If you wanted to explore Massive Darkness as a campaign, you can. But in my mind, it shines and it continues to shine as a one-off. Pick a dungeon. What do you feel like doing? What do you feel like playing? Level up, get the loot, and really have a massive Darkness dungeon crawl in 2 hours or less.